Fast forward to today, I currently manage a staff of 40 instructors. I also train over 1,000 students per semester. I have a boutique recreational gymnastics studio in Brooklyn, New York. I also have my program in 10 schools and centers throughout the tri-state area. So we're in Brooklyn, we're in Manhattan, we're in Great Neck, we're in Jersey.
Grace Esses devoted 10 years of her life competing as a level 8 gymnast with no intention of ever creating a business out of gymnastics. But today, Grace manages a team of 40 instructors, including some of her old coaches. Grace's Gymnastics proudly teaches over 1,000 students a year.
My friend's mother called my mother and was like, "Do you want to put the girls in a Sunday gymnastics program this year?" And she was like, "No. I like to spend time with my kids on the weekends, and no, I don't want to send her to some random program." A few weeks later, she ended up calling, begging her. She put me in the Sunday program, so reluctant. It was like the first or second day, and the owner of the gym, the head coach, picked out me and two of my friends and was like, "You guys are really good. Would you guys consider being on the pre-team?" And that was just you come in an extra day, train to get onto the team. And then I think it was the second or third week, I was in second grade. I was 6 years old at the time, and they put me on pre-team. From then on, it led to the team. We ended up training, went from once a week to twice a week to 3, 4, 5 times a week, 4 hours a night, competing on the weekends. I mean, I was like this little 6-year-old, and that was my life. And really no one understood it because I was one of the only few people in the community that dedicated my life to something from so early on. And it was always hard to explain it to people, but it was my passion. I fell in love with it from the first day, and that was my life, and I was unapologetic about it, and I did it, and I sacrificed so much from such an early age that people couldn't understand, but I didn't care because I understood what I was doing.
Throughout elementary school and high school,
Yeah.
you're in a dual curriculum school,
Yeah.
and you're also practicing
Yeah.
and competing
Yeah.
almost every single night.
I would get picked up straight from school, be driven straight to the gym with my leotard and my snack in my bag, and I would practice from maybe 5 to 9 p.m. I would get home at 9:30, 10 o'clock, start eating, showering, doing my homework, studying. My day was extremely long, but I mean, because I started when I was so young, I learned just how to manage my time. I learned discipline. I used to do my homework under my desk in school. I used to study and do my projects from weeks. I used to ask the teacher for the homework before it was due so I could do it on the weekend when I had a free time or didn't have a competition that weekend, and I was still a straight A student. So I think that having all that to do, the more you have to do, the more you could really accomplish. So I knew that from a really young age.
You weren't just doing gymnastics every night in elementary school and high school as a little hobby.
No.
You were very good.
Yeah.
You were competing at a high level.
Yeah, I was a competitive gymnast for I think 10 years. I ended up competing as a level 8 gymnast. We trained 16, 20 hours a week. I had a dual curriculum. I competed on the weekends in the tri-state area. We would travel.
So it's the summer after high school.
Yes.
You have a little bit of time before college.
Yes. My dad was like, "Why don't you teach gymnastics lessons?" I was like, "No." I was like, "That's so dumb." I was going to college. I was dorming. I was really going away. I just needed something to do for 2 months, and that was really it. And he was like, "Why don't you teach gymnastics lessons?" I was like, "That's the dumbest idea. It doesn't make any sense." And then it was I got to Jersey that weekend, and then I was talking to my friends on a Friday night on the porch, and I was telling him this idea. I was like, "I don't know what I'm going to do this summer." And I was like, "My dad told me to teach gymnastics lessons, but it's so stupid. It doesn't make any sense." And he was like, "No, you should really do that." And I was like, "Okay, I won't listen to my parents, but I'll listen to a friend." So that Sunday, I just posted on Instagram, on my mother's Instagram, and a few aunts, and I was just Grace Esses teaching gymnastics lessons private with my phone number. That Monday, someone called me, and I was like, "Hello," and they were like, "Hi, you're gonna come teach my daughter gymnastics tonight?" That day I got another phone call, and then on Tuesday I got 2 more phone calls, and then by the end of the week I was fully booked. By the end of the first summer I had 50 students, and that was crazy at the time because who could have 50 students? I was 18 and that was a lot. It seemed like this overnight success, and everyone was like, "Wow, who are you? You do gymnastics?" No one knew who I was. Obviously I was a regular girl, and I was like, "No, I'm not some overnight success. I did this for 12 years. No one knew that, but I knew that." So I mean, it really showed me that you really have to put in the work from day one and do it in the dark and put in the work when no one's watching you and no one's looking at you, no one cares about you. And then eventually one day, like, your work that you worked so hard for will eventually show to the world. The summer's over, and I was like giving out my thank you, my sweatshirts, my thank you gifts. I was like, thank you so much, guys. I'll see you later. And they're like, what do you mean you're going to teach my daughter in September? I was like, no, I'm dorming in college. I'm going to NYU. I'm going to go get some career. Like, I always dreamt of like having some corporate job. And they were like, no, you need to teach my daughter. I was like, but I live in the city, so I don't think so. And they're like, no. And I was like, okay. So instead of going to homes, I like kind of changed up the business model. I said, you guys will come to me to make it efficient. So I ended up coming home to Brooklyn on Sundays. I ended up booking myself the whole day. I was like, I'll just get it all done in one day. I booked myself from 8 a.m. to 9 p.m. I taught maybe 12, 13 hours a day. And then I was like, oh my God, I'm booked and I don't know what else to do. I can't teach anymore because I'm in school. So I ended up calling up my old teammate and I was like, do you want to come work for me? Like, we're just going to teach a few gymnastics lessons. It'll be fun, you know, whatever. And she's like, yeah, no problem. She shows up. I book her the whole day, 12 hours. She's all booked. I end up hiring her sister. She's all booked. This was on Sundays. Then I ended up adding them during the week they started. I knew I had like a real business when they were teaching during the week in my house when I wasn't there. So I was like, oh, this is a real business.
So
it's
you're
like
in school.
I'm in school.
And the people that you're hiring are people that you went to gymnastics
Yeah, they were my
school
old
with.
teammates. So I was like reaching out to people like in my little gymnastics world and reaching out to my network and seeing who could like come on board and help me at the time. So from like day one, I was really hiring because I needed the support. I taught in my house for 5 years in my basement, a little tiny basement. It was like 250 square feet in one room and like 175 square feet in the other. It was like really, really tiny, but the girls were seeing results. We were getting everything done that we needed to get done. It kept growing every single day. I was like managing teaching and answering my phone calls and emails and
I remember
being
you doing
in
this
school,
in the middle of class. We're in like real estate finance class.
I was in NYU for real estate and business, and I would literally sit in class and like type up my spreadsheets for work and just like answer emails and I would like try to write an essay for school, but I was like on the phone with a mother. Like I was really just balancing it all and it was really challenging, but I think because I did a dual curriculum growing up and went to gymnastics, like I was able to do it. At this point, I was like 18 or 19 years old. I maybe hit 100 students, then 200 students, then 300 students, and then when I hit 400 students, I was like, I can't be in this basement anymore. Like if you want to grow, I mean, this is your shot. So I graduated college 2 years ago. My dad ended up passing by the space and he was like, Grace, I want you to come see this space. I think it would be great for your studio. And this was last Thanksgiving. And I ended up seeing the space and I was like, I knew I always go with my gut feeling and I saw it. It was like this brand new building. I was like, this is my space. Like I know it in my gut. So they didn't have the CO at the time. It was a brand new building. They showed me other space, whatever, and I didn't like it. And I was like, I'm gonna wait for this space because I know it's the one. We ended up signing the lease around Passover of 2019. So it was like last April.
That's not the only location that you teach gymnastics in.
No. So I have my studio and I'm also in like 10 or 12 centers around the tri-state area. I remember it was 2 years ago. I was still in my basement. I just graduated from college, so I had more time to really focus on the business. And my aunt called me and she was like, do you want to come teach in the school? And I was like, no. Because at the time, like I didn't want more opportunities. Like I was just like happy, I was content. I was just trying to manage what was happening. And she was like, are you sure? They would really love a gymnastics program. And I was like, really? Okay. So I ended up starting in Ramaz. It was like the first semester that I was there and it ended up becoming like one of the top clubs in the school behind hockey. And it was like the first semester and word started spreading there. And then I loved being in the schools. I thought it was efficient. I didn't have to pay rent. I mean, I built partnerships with all these schools. So I was like, oh, I want to be in more schools. So now that I was like ready to expand my business and really focus on it, I started reaching out to all these other schools. And it was very hard at the time. I mean, most of them said no to me up front and I became very aggressive and I was like, I want to be in all these schools, and the more they say no to me, the more I know that they need me. So it was really hard in the beginning just to get it off the ground and get into all these schools. I would like...
Why did you think that the more they say no to you, the more they need you?
So because I realized that every setback that you have is like, you need to just use it as fuel to get better, because if you don't, you're just going to fall behind and you get discouraged and you're not going to get to the place that you want to be at. So I knew it was so successful in Ramaz, and Ramaz is like a very big main school. Like I really got like a big break when I started there, and I knew that it would be successful in all these schools, but it was really just educating these people because they never had a gymnastics program. They have a basketball team and they have a soccer team and they have an art program and a dance program, but no one had gymnastics. So it was like I had this shot to be the first one to get into all these schools. So every morning I would wake up and I would call the schools and I would see who to get in touch with, and they would say no, and I would educate them and say no. I would like name drop them, like, I'm in Ramaz, like, you want me. And eventually I kind of just got into more schools. Fast forward till I was in 10 schools.
So now you're in 10 locations. How many employees do you have?
Now I have a staff of almost 40 employees, instructors. It's a very small world, so you end up knowing really everybody. So I ended up hiring a few of my old instructors, my old teammates, and then I ended up hiring my old coach. And then a few of my old coaches, actually.
So at 24 years old, you're managing 40 people. There's not a lot of people in the world that are doing that at 24 years old.
This is so much bigger than myself, and some days I just want to be a normal 20, 22, 23, 24-year-old girl and not have all this pressure and all these expectations riding on myself all the time. Like, I always need to deliver, and now I'm delivering on this huge scale of 1,000 students, you know, in 10 locations and 40 instructors.
What drives you?
What drives me? So definitely my passion for the sport, for sharing the sport. I know that I'm one of the only few people who could do what I do. So if I stopped tomorrow, who would take over my position? And I know the girls need me, and I know how much they get out of the lessons and the programs that we teach.
Oh, let's talk about your dad.
My dad is the Chris Jenner manager of my life. I literally call him Chris. He's really the brains behind my business. I mean, he's always like looking to the next thing and pushing me forward, because when you're in the business, it's hard to look at it from another perspective and push yourself forward, but he has that foresight and he's always pushing me forward.
People don't understand what the success comes with, for better or for worse.
Yeah, so it's empowering and it's incredible to be this successful at such a young age, and it's almost like because I'm successful and I'm young, my success gets really amplified because it's not typical and it's not normal. There's so much that goes into it, besides being an LLC, a corporation. Investing is a big deal. That's why when I was building my business in college, I started as a nutrition major in NYU, and then I transferred to Gallatin, and then I ended up at SHAC, the School of Real Estate, because I knew that I needed to figure out how to invest.
What are the next steps for Grace's Gymnastics?
Eventually, I would love to have studios across Brooklyn, New York, the tri-state area. I mean, I really do see this boutique gymnastics like company really just, if it could be successful here, it could be successful anywhere. So I mean, I would love to just scale it and make it bigger and open up 10, 20, 50, 100 studios eventually. But really the next step is like just to get to 2 to 5 studios for sure in the next couple of years.